it's the best thing that they've never seen. That's how I kind of like to describe 3x3 because for me, it became that. It's a 5-on-5 basketball game in fast forward. Played on a half court, 12-second shot clocks, first to 21 or 10-minute games. It's exciting. It's nonstop action, continuous play. You see more freedom with the players. It's a format that allow players with really high individual skill levels to thrive. Essentially, highlight potential every play. The ISO crossovers. And if you got somebody with bounce, you getting somebody met at the rim, dunked on. So for a basketball fan, if they would pay attention to the sport, I think that a lot of people would gravitate to 3x3.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the 3-on-3 Hoops Pod, the voice of 3-on-3 basketball. Hope I don't get sued for saying that, and I'll explain later. But I am joined as always by the one and only Coach Jay out there on the West Coast. What's going on, Coach?
Oh man, it's a beautiful Friday. It's touching 100 degrees out here in Phoenix. I don't know what it is out there in you guys' part of the world, but
101.
it's a hot one.
Today we have a very, very special guest. Our first bucket list guest, as a matter of fact, someone who we immediately thought of as a guest when we even wanted to do a podcast. We started floating the idea of doing a podcast, a 3-on-3 basketball podcast, and he was one of the first people we thought of. We are joined by someone who has truly become the one and only voice of 3-on-3 basketball, 3x3 basketball worldwide. Kyle Montgomery, he is a former player turned global 3x3 ambassador and not one of, but the lead voice of 3x3 play calling games and biggest stages, including the Olympics. And if you've watched high level 3x3 anywhere in the world, you've heard his voice. He's none other than Kyle Montgomery, aka The Voice. Welcome to the show, Kyle. It's a pleasure having you on.
I appreciate y'all, fellas, and thank you for the introduction, man. You got me over here, cheeks swelling up, and no, but it's a pleasure. I'm glad to see you guys further in the game. For me, as someone who started, not at its inception, but a very early stage, it's good to see that 3x3 is catching on. It's spreading. The word is spreading. The interest is growing. And it's podcasts like this one that kind of keep the ball rolling. So appreciate you guys.
Awesome. And Kyle, I think a lot of people, especially here in the U.S., for people here in the U.S., 3x3 is still something that they've maybe heard of, maybe seen clips of, but they don't really fully understand what it actually is yet. And you've had a front row seat to this thing growing globally. So for someone who's just now hearing about 3x3, what are they missing?
Well, it's the best thing that they've never seen. That's how I kind of like to describe 3x3 because for me, it became that. It's a 5-on-5 basketball game in fast forward. I mean, it's played on a half court, 12-second shot clocks, first to 21 scoring format, or 10-minute games. So it's exciting. It's nonstop action, continuous play. I think you see more freedom with the players. I think it's a format that allow players with really high individual skill levels to thrive. I think it's really conducive to the society that we live in now globally, where people consume content quickly. A lot of people don't have the attention span that they used to watch 2 hours worth of a game. If you look at a lot of the major sports in the United States now, they're trying to find remedies to make the games faster, or they're selling television packages or media packages where you can buy just a quarter, or you can watch, you can customize your viewing experience to kind of remedy the attention span of viewers now. But with 3x3, you got a 10-minute game. You got essentially highlight potential every play.
Yep.
You got an open court format to where you're getting the ISO crossovers. And if you got somebody with bounce, you're getting somebody met at the rim, dunked on. So for a basketball fan, if they would pay attention to the sport, I think that a lot of people would gravitate to 3x3.
Yeah. From your perspective, Kyle, what do people get wrong about the 3x3 basketball?
Well, I think the first thing they get wrong is that they're not willing to give it a chance because 5-on-5 basketball for all of us is an institution. You know, when you
Yeah.
think of basketball, that's the first thing that comes to mind with the NBA leading the way. So when you have, a very devoted fan base and audience that's used to viewing basketball or having a basketball experience a certain way, it's difficult to sway them. It's difficult to get them to invest in another form of the sport. So the first obstacle would be, that people get wrong is not being willing to give it a chance. So I think once people are able to overcome that hurdle and check out a high level game at a high level competition on the Pro Tour, the Women's Series, or even the Olympics, then I think that we'll see the fan base grow. I think we have seen the fan base grow pretty steadily over the last, say, 5 years or so, starting with the Tokyo Olympics on into Paris. And I think the trajectory of the sport is heading in the right direction.
Yeah,
Agreed.
and I
Agreed.
think that's the hard part to explain to people because it looks, I mean, on the surface it looks familiar. It's just not. It's really not the same game. And so, I mean, is it fair to say that this isn't just pickup basketball? It's like its own game entirely.
It really is its own thing. So 3x3 was birthed out of street ball, right? So we play our tournaments in outdoor venues, right? You got a DJ with music playing. A lot of times it's hip hop. A lot of time the games are in conjunction with a festival where you got b-boys out there and you got a skate park.
The
So
state
it's really
fair.
yeah, so it's really like the you embrace the essence of kind of like that street flavor, which is a part of
Yeah.
3x3's identity, but now it's also Olympic and it's professional, right? So um it's evolved from just a game that you would see at the park in the streets to a professional option where high level players are now attracted to the game. You have
Mhm.
a solid rules base. You have a system. You have an opportunity to make money on the pro level with 3x3. So it's really evolved into something that's more serious than just your typical street ball. I saw the potential in 3x3 when I started, and that was in 2015 when I did my first tournament for 3x3. I saw the potential, but at that time, it becoming an Olympic sport was still a dream, and the prize money was much lower then. It was very much at kind of the ground level. So it wasn't until it was announced that 3x3 was going to become a part of the Olympic program that I said to myself, okay, now this is for real. If
Yeah.
if this if this sport is now going to be showcased on the Olympic level, I think everybody now has to take this sport serious because now it's another avenue for top level athletes around the world to be able to represent their country on the biggest sporting stage ever. So that was around 2017 that announcement came. It was about 2 years after I joined. But, when I first, you know, came to 3x3, it was a new frontier. It was very much unknown what the future was gonna be for the sport, but I tell people all the time, much like, the stock market, you know, you you have to see a product and you have to be long on that product if you think that the potential is gonna be big in the future. Maybe not now. So I was
Yeah.
long on 3x3. I knew that it wasn't where it could be in the future, but if it ever reaches potential, that it could be something massive.
Yeah, yeah.
Yo.
So I didn't mention this in the beginning, but you are originally an LA guy.
Yeah.
He's on the West Coast brother to Coach Jay.
West
So
Side.
um, and I've heard your story on other shows, and I want you to take us back a little bit because your path isn't a traditional path. So how did you even get pulled into 3x3 in the first place?
Okay, yeah, my path. No, it's not traditional, not traditional at all. So originally, I grew up in Kansas City. I'm a Midwest guy.
Okay.
It was work that took me to California, to Los Angeles.
Okay.
So I went to HBCU, Alabama State. I wanted to be a radio DJ. One of my professors convinced me to consider being a sports broadcaster, which for me was somewhere out of left field. To be honest, I'm from the hood, and that didn't appeal to me. I didn't think I spoke well enough. I didn't think I had the
Mm,
diction that, or I didn't look like the people that I saw on the TV screen. So y- this journey that I'm on is so improbable. Sometimes
mm,
I have to pinch myself. So anyway, it led me into sports broadcasting, and I was super lucky and fortunate to catch the NBA's eye about 2 years out of college. I started off in local TV in Mississippi and then in Alabama, and was improving. And I went to an NABJ conference, and went to the NBA's booth, and I gave them my resume reel just for critique. I knew that getting a job with the NBA at that time was, I mean, it was no way it was going to happen. I just wanted someone to look at my film and tell me how I could one day get good enough to get to the NBA. And by the grace of God, I'd say about 6 months after that conference, here I am at the ripe young age of 22. The NBA called me and said, "Hey, you made quite an impression on some people at this NABJ conference. We just so happen to be moving the NBA studios to Atlanta, Georgia, and we're looking for a young, vibrant host to do work on our digital platform and also do maybe a show a week on NBA TV, do the top 10 plays on NBA.com, and we think you're the guy." And of course, it was no brainer. I
Right.
took the job at the NBA, and I held that job for about 3.5 years. I grew my profile as a sportscaster while I was there. People really gravitated to my top 10 highlights on NBA.com uh, globally. That was the first
yeah.
time I realized the reach of the internet back then. And we all kind of around the same age. And
Yeah.
.com and YouTube wasn't at that time, 2008, 2000, it wasn't really what it is now.
Yep.
So little did I know at the time I was with the NBA. I left the NBA in 2012. I took a job in Charlotte to go to the ACC. Little
Nice.
did I know, while I was at the NBA, the people at FIBA now who hired me, they were watching the NBA.com highlights,
Wow.
unbeknownst to me at the time. So fast forward to 2015. This is about 3 years after I left the NBA. I'm now in Los Angeles. I'm working for the LA Clippers as a host and a reporter, and I'm also an anchor for the NFL Network.
Hmm.
And I get
Okay.
an email from these two guys, George Bacour and Julian Debove, a French guy and a Romanian guy, and they said, "Hey, you may not know us, but we followed your work years ago at the NBA, and we think that your style would work well with this new street ball league that we got. It's called FIBA 3x3." And I'm thinking the same way most Americans think. I said,
What's that?
FIBA, what FIBA 3x3? So initially, I'm like, no, I'm in LA. I got two high profile positions. My career is really thriving. Everybody in my circle was telling me not to do it because they felt like it would damage my reputation. They felt like it
Hmm.
was beneath, where I had climbed in my career. So they discouraged it, but I was interested because they of all the locations around the world that they had on their tour. Me,
Hmm.
I grew up poor, so there was no such thing as with a passport. I mean, I didn't know what a passport was until I was 18. And so I never really traveled outside the country. So that really appealed to me. I knew nothing of the sport. I had never seen a game, but I was willing to fly out to Lausanne, Switzerland, and try to be a play-by-play commentator for this league for the first time. We had no guarantees. The first time they flew me out, it was just a trial to see if I liked it, to see if I could even call play-by-play, because my career wasn't play-by-play. It was a host for TV, a reporter, and I would get in a voiceover booth with the NBA and call out the top 10 highlights. It wasn't live. It was pre-recorded. So this was a new frontier for me, trying to call a live action game and also figure out what this 3x3 was. And it was a trial for them too, to see if I could even, be the type of commentator that they needed for the sport. So I did it. I thought I did pretty well my first tournament. Although when I look back on it now and I listen to it, I can't do it. It's
Cringy.
terrible. It's cringeworthy. But I think more importantly, I got a taste of a different culture for the first time in my life. And that resonated with me in a way to where I said, okay, there's two things about this FIBA 3x3 thing. Man, if we get some American athletes playing this sport, this could really be something dope. That's what I thought to myself.
Yeah.
And I said, man, this experiencing this culture, being in Switzerland and seeing the Alps and being off Lake Lemon and trying the food and the wine and hearing the language, like, this is illuminating to me. This opportunity might be worth more than just money. Maybe this is something you can't quantify with a dollar amount. So I said, you know what? If they ask me to do it again, and I can fit it in my schedule, I think I'm gonna do it. Especially if I could be the guy. Like, I'm the only commentator for it, and man, they're gonna go to Abu Dhabi, and man,
Yeah.
So I ended up doing 2 tournaments that year. I went to Mexico City for the second tournament, and they said that I was good enough. I was good enough, but I still had a lot of obligations in LA. I was working for the NFL and for the Clippers, so that dominated my schedule. So the next year, they asked me if I could do all of the tournaments. And at that time, I think it was like 6 or 7. And I was able to work it out with my schedule with the NFL and the Clippers. And all of a sudden, I'm juggling 3 jobs. But I'm
3 leagues.
3 leagues. But now I'm also falling more in love with 3x3 because I'm more comfortable with the game, with the rules. I'm certainly enjoying the overseas travel, and I'm liking the opportunity and the freedom to kind of call the games how I want to.
You get to create your own lane.
Yeah, create my own lane. So it began as something that I was kind of skeptical of, but then turned into maybe the best career opportunity I've ever had.
That's all, man. That's every time I hear your story, it's I appreciate the path that you took, and the thing you said at the end where you get to basically create your own lane, and there's definitely a difference between games that you commentate on and when you're not there. So,
oh yeah, sure,
yeah.
But it took a lot of courage, because when you come up in a television culture in the USA, the demand to be polished is very, very high. The demand to speak well, to have a good posture. You got a lot of cooks in the kitchen who are consulting you on how to dress and how to wear your facial hair, and they kind of mold you into what they want you to be. So for me, being a young Black dude coming from where I come from, I couldn't just get on there and just talk like I want to talk.
Yeah.
I can't say he yammed on that man. I'd have to say that was quite a slam dunk. You know what I mean? I mean, there was the pressure, when you're on local television, on national TV, to not push it too far, because you don't want to single out your audience or
Yeah.
ostracize a portion of your audience who may not like that type of lingo, who may not understand some of the words that you might use in the inner city to describe a play. But nowadays it's popular. It's changed in the last decade. So even the older commentators
Yeah.
are trying to say
Mhm.
what the young kids say, right? So what I did on NBA.com, and the reason why FIBA 3x3 hired me, was because on .com, it was late night. It wasn't so popular, the web at that time. And one of my producers, he just said, "Hey, man, I know you. Nobody's watching these highlights. You should just do these top 10s like you want to do them." He said, "You're not going to get in trouble." So, I'm on the East Coast. So we're doing these highlights at 1 or 2 in the morning. So all of a sudden, I started to get creative. So I would say, if somebody did a play, I say, "That was bad, real bad, Michael Jackson," or or just anything. I might take a rap bar, or
Yeah.
I might just get a little bit more creative in my authentic way with the highlights. And the moment that I started to do that, that's when my popularity really started to grow.
Yeah.
They hadn't heard anybody on any type of sports media outside of maybe Stuart Scott that was using metaphors, and that was, kind of trying to make it poetic. So FIBA wanted me to be a part of this street ball league because of that. They said, "We want that kind of Kyle for this league. Not the buttoned up Kyle that says, 'Hey, and welcome to the show. We got 10 games on the slate tonight.'" They wanted "Yo, what's good? Y'all will not believe the plays that we saw." That's the one they wanted. And
Yeah.
that freed me up and helped me grow as a broadcaster. When they gave me that freedom, they said, do it that way.
Yeah.
So when they gave me the ball, after my first 2 years, it took a little while for me to break out of that kind of cookie cutter mold of a broadcaster that I had become, coming up in the States. But when I broke out of that shell, then I really started putting my foot in it.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
They say authenticity is the best driver of success, man. So
Yeah.
being yourself as you see, that helped catapult you into a different stratosphere.
Yeah. Yeah. It's the difference in you. Like, you can sleep well at night when you know that you being yourself. It's less
That's
pressure
quality.
when you kind of unlock that side of yourself. So I did it, and it was FIBA 3x3, the sport that I didn't even know the name of,
Yeah.
that did that for me in my career. So
Cool. Let's talk about some player development, Kyle. You've seen a lot of 3x3 games, and we talked to a lot of coaches and players. So from your lens, what actually makes a great 3x3 player, you think?
versatility, right? 3x3 as a player, you got to be able to do everything. Um, this is not such a system-based game, right? So you got to be able to shoot it. You got to be willing to shoot it. You got
Yeah.
to be a willing passer, a willing defender, a willing rebounder, and you got to thrive in all of those areas of your game if you're going to be an asset to your team. Because if you can't do some of those things well, then you're going to quickly become a liability. Because the margin for like in 3x3 with 3 players on the court, you don't want to be 6'10" big who can only play in the post, because now the defense is going to force you to make shots from the outside, right? You see what I mean?
Yeah.
You're going to get exploited in the open floor if you can't move your feet defensively, right? So, and for example, in 5-on-5, for many years you would see a big in the post, somebody like Shaq, that could single-handedly dominate a game. That's the way the system worked. But
Yeah.
Shaq wouldn't thrive in 3x3.
They pick and roll them to death.
they pick and roll him to death. He can't move well enough. He certainly can't extend the floor, right? So now so those type of players, they wouldn't exactly thrive in 3x3. You want the 6'3" to 6'6", right? The hybrid type players that have that versatility and can do a little bit of everything. So, from a player development standpoint, I think those are typically going to be your most dangerous players. That's not to say that you can't utilize a big or somebody like Jimmer Fredette, for example. Jimmer might be 6'1", but Jimmer was an absolute monster.
He shoot the cover off the ball, man.
He shoot the cover off the ball, and he still put forth that effort defensively. So, everybody's not going to be as lucky to get players in that range. Talking about if speaking about the males game.
Well, because the game forces you in certain situations, like are there skills that show up in 3x3 that maybe don't get exposed as much in 5-on-5?
Well, that's a good question. It's hard to tell in 5-on-5 because oftentimes you're going to be beholden to whatever the system is. So there's certain aspects of your game or certain skill sets that you might have that you may not be able to show. They may not flourish because it doesn't work within that given system. In 3x3, it's the opposite really. So like all of your skills are going to be on display, or you're going to get exposed for not having those said skills. I think the biggest thing with 3x3, and this could be considered a skill, is you have to have acumen, high basketball IQ, because there are no coaches in 3x3. So it really tests your instincts, your just overall basketball knowledge without having the crutch of a coach telling you where to go and what to do. Everything is on the fly. So I think that's a skill set that in 3x3 you have to have much more than say a 5-on-5. It's a true understanding of the game and being able to apply, strategy adjustments on the fly with no coach.
So if I'm a parent or a coach, Kyle, and I'm listening, what would I see in a player who's been playing a lot of 3x3? Do you think there's a difference? Do you think that someone just watching can tell, like, oh, that guy's been playing
sure.
3x3?
Oh, absolutely. Yes. Yes. I'll give you an example. So Serbia has been the most dominant country in men's 3x3. And they don't have the most athletic players. They don't have the strongest players. They don't have the biggest players. But they understand the nuances of the game in a way that most players don't. And it's understanding spacing. It's understanding timing, having that internal clock, understanding what 12 seconds feels like. Understanding what transition offense or transition defense looks like in 3x3 compared to 5-on-5. So coming off that free throw, you better close out in the corner, otherwise it's going to be a wide open shooter, right? Or defensively, understanding that if a player's got you beat by a foot, he made a move on you, and you're not going to be able to stop the layup. Instead of going and trying to chase down block, you start some transition offense. You let him get that layup, and you sprint to the wing or you sprint to the corner for a transition pass, right?
Yep.
So that's those little nuances of the game come with experience playing 3x3. If you hadn't played the game, then you're going to give up a lot of open shots. You're going to make a lot of violations, not understanding the rules and the different intricacies of the game. But when you play it on a really high level, it becomes more than just free flowing ISO ball 3x3 based off of skill. You're going to see sets being run within that 12-second shot clock. You might even see them reset in that 12-second shot clock. They might run it down
That's
screen.
high level IQ right there.
Rub
You got time to reset.
They might have a time for two actions within that 12-second shot clock because the repetition, they've done it so many times. Some of our greatest players in the game, you might see them at a court and you might not want to pick him on your team, but he might be the baddest 3x3 player out there. So,
Right.
just those little differences are huge in
Yeah.
3x3.
So since you're starting to allude to a little bit, like, and if you've seen, what your work with, your work with the Clippers and obviously with FIBA, 3x3, you've been watching, at the highest level, both 3x3 and 5-on-5. What's
Sure.
the biggest difference between high level 3x3 and 5-on-5?
Well, as much as I love 3x3, I can't get on here and say
Obviously.
that the skill level of the best in 3x3 is comparable to the skill level of NBA players, right? NBA players, EuroLeague players, these are the best athletes for basketball on the planet,
Hmm.
hands down, right? When you watch a pro level NBA player, you're going to be able to tell the difference between him and any other player. I mean,
Yeah.
from their motion, from their the density of their muscle, from the way that they move. An NBA player can make 30 shots in a row, and it's just it's nothing. You know what I mean? It's just it's the repetition, right? So they're at a different level. Um, so I try not to compare 3x3 pros to 5-on-5 pros, but I do. I have seen players who have played in the NBA translate to 3x3. And I've
Mhm.
seen players from 3x3 also translate to the NBA. You look at like an Alfonso McKinney who played for the 2016 or 17 USA roster.
Yeah.
He went on to play for the Golden State
Yeah.
Warriors. We've had a couple of players that kind of started with maybe not started with 3x3 because when they were young they played 5-on-5. But in the early days they played 3x3 and still were able to play in the NBA. So there's quite a difference between their best and 3x3's best. But I
Yeah.
would say this: I don't think that NBA players or top level 5-on-5 guys can come to 3x3 and immediately dominate based off skill alone, based off of athleticism alone. I think a lot of players come into 3x3 and they get humbled because the game is much different. You can't it's not you
Mhm.
can't just win with iso ball. You got to have some strategy. You got to have some sets. You got to understand the game to be successful in 3x3.
That's actually a perfect segue. So, what do you think surprises 5v5 players the most when they first step on that 3x3 court?
That 12-second shot clock is on your neck. The speed of the game is, I mean, it's nonstop. It's The conditioning is different. I've seen some pretty well conditioned 5-on-5 athletes come to 3x3 and they're like, yo, we can't stop. You know, So they get pushed to the physical limits, with that continuous play. Um, ball goes through the nets and boom. There's no time to rest. It's
Yeah.
really played at a frenetic pace. And when you come from a 5-on-5 culture, you're used to walking the ball up, calling the set, having
Mhm.
having little interval opportunities to catch your breath, or you may know that this play's not designed for me. I'm gonna post up in the corner over here. Or
Yep.
you know, in 3x3 on that, even on the half court, there is nowhere to hide. There is nowhere to hide. So I think that's the biggest shock for guys making that transition from 5-on-5 to 3x3.
Yeah,
I see that.
that's it. That's crazy because you're not the first person that we've had that, explain the difference between what players actually, think. They think that it's a lot easier since there's only three players, and that's definitely not the case. And
Yep.
I agree with you. Like even high level NBA players, that you can't just throw anybody in 3x3 and expect to dominate the way you do in 5-on-5.
Yeah.
Um, where do you personally see 3x3 heading right now? Which I know you've had a global view of the game in a way that most people haven't, and so you've seen the growth of the game, like you mentioned before that you've been there almost from the beginning, and
Yeah.
where do you see it heading right now?
Well, it's continuing to evolve. We haven't seen the best of what 3x3 has to offer. I think that
I
we're going to
agree.
get even better players, because now we're seeing several countries start to develop players for 3x3 at a younger age. So you start a kid at say 12 or 11 with getting 3x3 in his mind, understanding the game. By the time he's 18, he's going to be a real problem. So there's a whole new generation of 3x3 players that are on the way. The Olympics have gotten better with each edition. We got LA 2028 coming up, and I think that it's going to be the best version of 3x3 that we've seen yet. So I see it on the uptick. I see it starting to get closer to the potential of what the game can be. I think it's not in its infancy, but it's still very young. If you think back to the NBA when it was founded, and you look at maybe some of the games in the 70s or the 60s in the early
It was on
days,
tape delay, wasn't it?
right? So now today's game and that game are totally different. But in each generation, you saw the game continue to evolve. So with 3x3, in the grand scheme of things, in the big picture, it's still at a very, very young stage, say a decade professional, a little over a decade professional. So it's got a whole lot more growing to go. But for me, it's damn sure heading in the right direction.
Yeah.
What does the U.S. need to understand if we want to catch up or even be the best in 3x3?
Well, I think we, just by virtue of being an American, we come with a certain swagger and a certain confidence when it comes to anything with that round ball.
Yeah.
But coming to this game with a humble attitude, not lacking confidence.
Yeah.
There's a distinction between the two. But coming to this game with a humble attitude and take it seriously. Otherwise, you might get embarrassed. And there have been occasions where we have had some very, very talented U.S. teams come to 3x3, and they kind of took the game for granted. They looked at some of the players, they looked at the physiques, and they said, "Oh, this is going to be a cakewalk. This is light. This is going to be light work." And even though they were superior talent-wise, size-wise, they had skill-wise, it was no question. They got picked apart because they didn't understand how to apply that skill to this game in a condensed time. They didn't understand the nuances of the sport. They relied strictly on iso ball. They didn't understand that in 3x3, you got to let the ball do the work for you.
Yeah.
You want to expend as little energy as possible instead of iso, hezzy. By the time you've done
Step
two or
back.
three dribbles, step back 4 seconds off the shot clock now, right?
Yeah.
So come into it with a humble attitude, respect the sport, and recognize it as an opportunity to represent your country on a global stage. That gold medal you win at the Olympics playing 3x3 is the same gold they would win with 5-on-5. Somebody
Yeah.
tell LeBron it's the only thing he's missing. He could be the first athlete ever to be a 5-on-5 Olympic gold medalist and a 3x3 Olympic gold medalist. Bron, can you hear us?
Yeah, you hear
Come
that,
on.
LeBron James?
Yeah.
I know you're eventually going to
Yeah.
hear this. You're eventually going to hear it.
So I mentioned this in another show. Coach Jay's on this. He's on a campaign to get Bronny on the Olympic 3x3 team for
That'd be big.
coming into
Oh,
LA.
I
And I
am?
think,
Okay, yeah, let's get him.
yeah, I mean, LeBron was in the stands watching 3x3, in the last Olympics, and I know he
Yeah,
has some
yeah.
interest there.
I
And
think
so
KD was out there too, as a matter of
KD
fact.
KD was out there
there.
too,
Yeah.
and Melo was
I
out
felt
there
so bad
too.
for that Olympic team
Yeah.
just because it was just unfortunate how everything unfolded, and with the
Yeah.
players coming out there to watch, and Jimmer's injury early on, and I think they probably had their best game the next game again. I can't remember who they were playing against, but they had their best
Yeah.
game, I thought, and they
Kenyon
they couldn't
Berry.
pull it out. Yeah, Kenyon Berry kind of went off.
Kenyon
So
Berry had back-to-back games of I think 14 and 15
Yeah.
points, which is
yeah,
like that's a monumental individual effort. And you're talking about a sport where the games go to 21. You got one player
Yeah,
that goes off for
14.
14 or 15.
Right.
So he went crazy. But yeah, it did let some of the air out of that the Paris Olympics because we knew that the USA team was a real contender, but
Yeah.
Jimmer was the centerpiece of that team. Make no mistake about it. And when you lose him,
Yeah.
it's going to be really difficult to win. And I think that team got a lot of unjust criticism because we got more attention, we got more viewership with that
Absolutely.
second Olympics and 3x3 on the schedule. So more Americans were now kind of paying attention. So
Yeah.
because they weren't successful, the men weren't. They drew a lot of, I think, undeserved criticism, and I think the sport lost credibility with some people
Yeah.
because there wasn't a strong USA men's team, right? I think that was some of the after effects of that, unfortunately.
Mhm.
But I think that people are going to be, I think, more intrigued because they're going to give the USA a pass. They had a one player that was injured. Now
Yeah.
this time, now y'all got to really show us,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So maybe a bit of an asterisk with that Olympics for the men. Shout out to
Yeah.
the
Yeah,
women.
the
though. They
women
won gold in
are
Tokyo.
Yeah,
And
women
right?
did their thing. Yeah.
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 So as we wrap up, I'm going to ask one last question, and Coach Jay's going to ask our traditional last question that we ask all our guests. So, but before we get to that, this is the part where this will probably be clipped, Kyle. So, you need to step up your game here with this answer. If you had a young player or coach listening right now, what would you want them to understand about 3x3, and why should a young player today actually care about 3x3?
Young player today should care about 3x3 because everybody can't play in the NBA or the EuroLeague or First Division overseas. It's an opportunity, a rare opportunity to represent your country on a global stage, to
Yes.
become an icon, to be able to own a lane to yourself. It's unique anytime you have an opportunity to be a first. And 3x3 provides an opportunity for a lot of athletes to kind of be pioneers, have a groundbreaking or a trailblazing type of opportunity. It's a fun game. It's fast. And I say this to people all the time. With 3x3, you could be a big fish in a small pond. So that means marketing opportunities, endorsements once you get to that Olympic stage. Or you could be a small fish in a big pond in some of those more recognizable or notable leagues right now. I think the appeal of being a big fish in a small pond, I think it's going to get more players to gravitate to the game. It certainly got me. I got a chance to kind of be the commentator that I wanted to be, albeit that the league was small and kind of unknown. But now, as the sport grows, it seems to be something that's paying off.
And there's no perfect
Amen.
person to say that than you. You just like at the beginning of this episode, you gave your story, and it's funny how that parallels, exactly to what the point you just made. So
I appreciate
Amen
it.
to that. Amen to that. Amen to that. So yeah, we'll
Amen.
wrap it up with our personal favorite question, Kyle. We'll keep it within the last 25 years or like within the 2000s. Give us your all-time 3x3 roster. 3 players and 1 sub.
And
From
we
2000,
have
from the year 2000 to
Okay,
right now.
okay.
So we understand.
Okay.
So just so you know, everyone's going to choose the usual. So don't try to go so different. It's usually going to become you're always going to be different in 1 or 2 players. So
All right.
So when we know like 1 or 2 players
Now let
that
him
are
say it.
probably
Let him say it. Let
Go
him say
ahead.
it.
Okay. See, I could get really creative with this. I can go with just 3x3 players, or I can bring in Kobe.
That's what we're
Let's
that's
go.
what we're
Let's
looking
go
for.
That's what you want me to do?
That's what we're
Let's
looking
go
for.
Ooh,
Yeah.
NBA.
That
I
is
should have said
something.
NBA. Yeah, let's do NBA.
Okay.
Any player in the world. Yeah.
Okay.
Because that's who you're competing
Well,
against.
okay. I'm going to bring in. No, I'm gonna combine both. Can I do that? Can I break the rules? Because I need at least 2 of those players to have some 3x3 experience.
All right. Okay.
Okay. No.
Who,
All right.
no.
No. I'll stick
All
to the
right.
rules.
We'll do a special case. Let's do a special case. We'll do
Here you go.
I'll make it even more special. Let's do an NBA 3x3 versus the actual 3x3 players, and you can
That's
pick your
tough.
4 and your 4.
All right. Okay. I need Kobe. I need Tracy McGrady.
I like
that's
that.
the first Tracy.
I need
Tracy,
I need Steph,
I like that.
and I need Giannis Antetokounmpo.
Hey, that's gonna be a hard team to beat.
Okay, we got length, we got shooting, and
Wait,
I know
who's the
Steph.
fourth? Do we name
Giannis.
four? Or?
Yeah,
Yeah,
Giannis is the fourth.
I said Giannis, Kobe, Steph, and
Tracy,
McGrady.
that's right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
I like it.
3x3. Okay, I'm gonna compare mine to everybody else's. 3x3. Give me Dushan Bullet. He's the greatest player to ever play. Mike Stotovich, his longtime teammate, plays for UB now. Worthy de Jong from the Netherlands.
He's my favorite non-US player.
Worthy's a problem. I want to go with Strahinja Stojicic, Dr. Strange for UB. I think it's tough because there was a couple bad Latvians too. Carlos Lasmanis, especially in his younger days, they won gold in Tokyo, and Norris Miezes. But I think I'm gonna stick with that.
I like that. I like
that
group.
four. Yeah. I think that four is the ones.
That's a gold medal game right there.
That'd be serious. That'd be serious. Yeah, they'd be nice.
I like that. I like that T-Mac pick.
It was okay. It was okay.
Oh yeah.
Oh Lord.
We didn't get Jordan or LeBron. LeBron just called. He was like,
don't give me. No,
I'm just.
Don't give
me.
We don't need LeBron. We don't need.
I don't
LeBron
want a year 2000 Jordan. I don't need a year 2000
so
Jordan.
we had Mitchell Hahn on.
We had
Mitchell Hahn on, and his I think he had. Did he have Kobe? I think he had Kobe, Jordan, someone else I can't remember, and then he had he had KD, and then he had Russell Westbrook was his.
Yeah, he did have Westbrook. That was his odd man.
That was first.
I'm cool with Russ, but is Russ gonna shoot?
He's a Swiss Army knife, but yeah, he's gonna get left.
Is Russ gonna shoot that thing like I need him to shoot? Is Russ gonna shoot it like I need him to shoot it?
I think you guys are just thinking about it the wrong way. I mean, I don't know. I don't know. Everybody's gonna post Curry up. I know he can shoot, but
Steph is 6'4". Steph is look.
Can he front him? Would you dare front in 3-on-3, 3x3?
Yes, you can front him, and you got Giannis on the backside. Like
I like the Giannis.
Giannis can block shots underneath the goal and at the 2-point line.
The perimeter.
He ain't got to even move.
Right.
So I think Steph is going to.
The new guy coming up.
Oh no. Yeah, with that wingspan of Victor, no.
Man, I forgot about him, dude.
No, we running past Vic. We running past Wembanyama. We gonna send Curry straight to the bucket.
Man.
Kyle, man, it was such a pleasure having you on, man. We love the 3x3 talk. Like I said at the beginning, you're definitely one of our Mount Rushmore, our bucket list guests. So I really appreciate you having you on. And Coach, you had anything else you want to say, or before you head out of here?
No, that was it, man. That was great. This is great. Can't wait for the re-air, like all of them. Everybody out there, tune in everywhere our podcast is available, and I'm sure you guys are gonna enjoy this one.
Kyle, I'm gonna give you an opportunity. Whatever you want to plug right here, this is your opportunity, and then we'll head out.
Well, I'm not sure when the podcast drops, but the 3x3 season is underway. We just wrapped up the Champions Cup, and we go into the Asia Cup that's coming up April 1st through the 5th from Singapore. I'll be heading out there. Make sure y'all watch on youtube.com/FIBA3x3. And also my podcast, Word on the Streets, Replace the E's with Threes, where we'll be doing some previews, some recaps, everything that you need to stay abreast on with 3x3.
Awesome. And I appreciate that. And everybody else, don't forget to join the 3-on-3 Hoops Nation. Kyle is an official member of 3-on-3 Hoops Nation right now. So don't forget to follow. And other than that, we'll see you when we see you. Peace.
Thanks, guys.